Alright, hey guys, how's it going? Harry here. We're gonna do a box opening of Eldritch Moon, the newest set from Magic the Gathering. It's the second set in the block of Shadows over Innistrad. Now, of course, this is the return to the fan favorite playing Innistrad. I'm quite partial to Innistrad myself. You see, I started playing in the Scars of Mirrodin block, but I kind of started in media res. I didn't just start right when it started. Innistrad, on the other hand, was the first set that I anticipated and prepared for, and really got the full set experience from a Magic expansion. So it's quite close to my heart, and obviously it's in general just a very well liked set. Just really fun mechanics, and I felt the same way about Shadows over Innistrad. I really enjoyed it. And I've looked through the spoilers of this set, Eldritch Moon, and I liked it too. I liked it a lot. I'm kind of in the minority in that I really liked the Eldrazi. I especially liked how they did them on Innistrad here. So that's just my opinion, though. All right, let's get started. All right, so we've got 36 packs here. Okay, I'll put you over there. So pack number 1. Oh, this feels good. I love opening packs. Okay. Love this. It's kind of a rampant growth kind of thing. Wish it was a little... Sure there's better sack effects right now. Oh, Spell Queller. And oh! We got 2 double face cards, 2 meld cards. It's a new mechanic. Alright, I'll talk about the 2 rares here. Gisela the Broken Blade is awesome. I think this card is super sick. Just in limited, if you get this, it'll just take over a game, especially if you play it on curve. You play a 2-drop and a 3-drop that each eat a removal spell. You play Gisela, and if they can't answer it, you're just gonna swing the game so far with lifelink, and First Strike makes it a pretty good blocker as well. And then that's even not considering the meld, which is the new mechanic where if you have the card it melds with, which is the new Bruna, then they both flip over into one big nasty card. This card's pretty fun. All right, and the other rare is Spell Queller, flash flying 2/3 for 1, a white and a blue. When Spell Queller enters the battlefield, exile target spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. When Spell Queller leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner may cast that card without paying its mana cost. And if you guys watched the SCG Open, my brother was in a feature match and got destroyed by this card. He was playing against Jeff Hoogland, who was on Blue-White Spirits, and Jack was on Collected Company. And so you can imagine how much this card would wreck a company list, because really the only card in there that it doesn't hit is Archangel Avacyn and the new Elder Deep Fiend. Alright, so I will set those aside. That is a very strong start here. Also an insect token. Alright, yeah. Set those aside. That's a really strong start. I'm feeling good about this box. See, that's the kind of pack that makes impressionable young planeswalkers want to just buy 30 more instead of just buying the cards. Let's see. Olivia's Dragoon. I haven't got a chance to play Limited yet. Unfortunately, I had to miss the pre-release, and I haven't been able to do a draft yet. But this card just seems really sick, There's not much to say. I mean, you discard cards to give it a really relevant keyword. It's a set with madness. Yeah. Like this guy's hair. Okay. Liking it so far. Noose Constrictor. Very strong card. Same reasons as Olivia's Dragoon. The Goose is back. Oh, I'm sorry. Mongrel's back. I was thinking of old good green cards. Got mixed up. But yeah, this was, I really suggest you guys read Duke's things on Channel Fireball. He had some really interesting stuff about this in both his constructed and limited reviews, so it's a really strong card. Alright, moving on. Okay, so we got Spirit of the Hunt as our rare. It's Flash. When Spirit of the Hunt enters the battlefield, each other creature you control that's a wolf or werewolf gets +0/+3 until end of turn. And so this is a pretty strong combat trick. Unless something weird happens, I don't see it seeing too much constructed play. But I'm kind of a sucker for green, so I would certainly take this in limited, pack one, pick one, or build around it, even though, despite it having, you know, a pretty restrictive mana cost, I would probably take that pack 2, just because I'm such a fool for green. Alright, so here's the what the werewolves in Eldritch Moon are like. I think it's a pretty cool design. So I'll just read this example. Tangleclaw Werewolf, 2 and 2 green for a 2/4. Tangleclaw Werewolf can block an additional creature each combat. And normally the werewolves have the triggered ability, which lets them flip, but in this case it is an activated ability, and that's true for all werewolves in this set except for the legendary werewolf. So the activated ability is 6 and a green, so 7, transform Tangleclaw Werewolf. Flips around into an Eldrazi Werewolf. That is one heck of a creature type. I love that. So it's a 4/6 with Vigilance. Fibrous Entangler must be blocked if able. Fibrous Entangler can block an additional creature each combat. That is just really sick. I love this design. I can't wait to just force green and then go 0/3 drop. It's going to be great. Right, pack number 3. And I'll stop going through the commons and uncommons after about 10 packs, just unless we get something really crazy. But yeah. Windrake. Okay, got a lot of Wolfkin Bonds. So far this would be a pretty fun sealed deck. Kind of like this card. I don't know. It's kind of quite a lot of removal going around, so you kind of like... It's hard to call this card just a 2-for-1, but if it gets blown out, that is, where as it is normally for auras and limited against removal. But I still think this card's pretty powerful. I mean, you just... The upside's really strong. You boost you buff your worst creature or make your best creature better and get rid of their best creature. So that's a pretty good upside, in my opinion. But cards read a lot differently than they play, and especially cards like this. They're very... this card's... Either way, this card's pretty fun. I like it. Alright. Okay, and Assembled Alphas is our rare. 5 and a red for a 5/5. Whenever Assembled Alphas blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Assembled Alphas deals 3 damage to that creature and 3 damage to that creature's controller. Now this card's pretty fun. Again, not really a constructed card, but I would be more than happy to play this in the Werewolves deck that I'm going to draft and go 0/3 with, as I previously stated. I am actually... The more packs I open, the sadder I am that we're not doing... This isn't like a sealed deck. Alright. Also, speaking of sealed, we have the other side of Graph Rats. It's Midnight Scavengers, and you know what? I will go ahead and put those together for y'all, just to see, so you can see what meld cards look like. And in fact, this is actually the first time I have handled meld cards myself, so this is pretty cool. Alright. That's kind of awkward. I guess you could fit this into like one of those Plane Chase sleeves or one of the Commander sleeves. But yeah, this is pretty cool. I kind of like that. It's a really fun design. And I kind of like that it didn't get like really muddled down. Like there's only 3, well technically 6, but there's only like 3 instances of meld in the set. Alright, next pack. Oh, again, here's this awesome... Here's more evidence that I should have taken these packs as a sealed pull. Okay. Waxing Moon, transform up to 1 target werewolf you control. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. Just a fun little werewolf card. There are definitely arguments for not playing this in the werewolf deck, I guess. it's a lot better with the activated ability werewolves. So, you know, like the guy we looked at earlier was 7 to transform, but this just transforms him for 2 at the cost of a card. So in those cases, this card definitely gains some value. However, I wouldn't play too many. All right, so moving on. Okay, so here's a new mechanic. It's called Escalate. So we've seen a lot more modal cards than we would, and that means cards with multiple abilities, such as charms or commands. And so Escalate is a mechanic that uses modal cards, and it's really fun. So this is called Borrowed Grace. It's 2 and a white for an instant with Escalate. Choose one or both. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn, and or creatures you control get +0/+2 until end of turn. And you pay this card. You pay the Escalate cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. So really powerful card. It's a really powerful ability. This card's pretty good. It's not quite as good as Rally of the Peasants, which was from the last Innistrad block, and was recently in Eternal Masters, and I really liked that card. And it has basically the same effect as the first mode here, +2/+0 until end of turn, except it had flashback for 2 and a red as well, so you could kind of surprise your opponent with giving your board +4/+0. And both of these cards are instant, so you can just do that after blocks and cheat in a lot of damage. And oftentimes with Rally of the Peasants, you just win. But this guy also lets you buff your creature's toughness, so this card can really shake up a combat. I think this is a pretty good trick. All right. Certain Death, pretty good removal spell. Depending on how slow the format is, I'm not sure if it's as aggressive as Battle for Zendikar was. I probably wouldn't play this, but if it's reasonably slow, which I assume it is, this card's pretty sweet. It probably might be my pick right now. Flash Spider, it's terrifying. Okay, I love this. I love the art on this card. Just please go look at Prying Questions. The art is just hilarious. Markov Crusader, sweet art. Morn Willow. Let's see. 1 a black and a green. Haste. Delirium. When Morn Willow enters the battlefield, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, that's the Delirium mechanic we saw from the last set. Creatures with power 2 or less can't block this turn. Oh, that's a pretty cool card. That's pretty fun. Oh, Dark Salvation and Lone Rider. So Dark Salvations are rare. Lone Rider is our flip card. Okay, so Dark Salvation is a pretty sweet card. It's XX and a black. Target player puts X/2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Then up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each zombie creature that player controls. So this card reads kind of weird, and a lot of people thought the creature you targeted got -1/-1 for each creature or each zombie its controller had, but it's actually how many the player you target with the zombie ability has. So you give yourself the tokens, target your opponent's creature, and then that creature gets -1/-1 for each zombie that you have. Or unless you like want to give them creatures for any other reason, I don't know. But a cool nuance to this card, you can just pay black and without paying X at all, and if you control zombies, your opponent's creature will still get -1/-1 for each zombie you control. So it could be just like 1 mana, give target creature -1/-1, or -3/-3 if you're running a dedicated zombie deck. It's a pretty powerful removal spell, predicated on like whether or not you are running zombies, which are I think a pretty strong creature type in Constructed right now in Standard. And then Lone Rider is a pretty good card, 1 and a white for a 1/1 first strike, lifelink, already pretty strong. At the beginning of the end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, transform Lone Rider. It that rides as 1, first strike, trample, and lifelink gets a 4/4. So obviously pretty powerful card if you can abuse it, and you probably can. The flip side blocks pretty well early on. Maybe just sneak in for some damage, get some life. Flip side is just nuts if you can flip it and the turn or 2 turns after you cast it. I also like the name It That Rides as 1. It's kind of a callback to the old Eldrazi names. Alright, next pack. Saying a lot of Dawn Gryphs. Prey Upon, I love the new art on Prey Upon. It's kind of a callback to when it was, it was first printed in Innistrad, and just the composition's really cool. It's kind of, just like parallel with the old one. And it's a really good removal spell in this set. Like right now it's the one I'm looking at the most of the 2 cards I've seen so far. Fortune's Favor is one of my favorite cards from this set. 3 and a blue for an instant. Target opponent looks at the top 4 cards of your library, separates them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. This card is just so much fun. So, it's like Fact or Fiction. The biggest difference between the two, besides the face-down component of it, is it's only 4 cards. And so, as a lot of people said, that's huge because you can always choose to get a 3-for-1 with Fact or Fiction. Like, you're always getting, like, at least a little value. You're either getting cards you need or just, like, drawing a million cards. But with this, it's almost always going to be 2 in a face-down pile, 2 in a face-up pile. But for a 4-mana instant, I think that's still pretty good. Hammy. Alright, so Garden Aid is our rare. We have a foil, it's Emrakul's Influence, and a flip werewolf, similar to the ones we've seen. So Sigarda's Aid, not Sigarden. Gotta water the flowers in my Sigarden. It's an enchantment for 1 white. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So there was a lot of discussion online. I get on Reddit quite a bit, and people were saying, like, oh, this could be modern playable just with like swords and Batterskull and things such as that. The problem being, though, that it's just by itself doesn't do anything. I have no idea. I'm not too experienced in those types of decks and Eternal formats in Modern, so time will tell. I think the card in a vacuum is pretty powerful. I would play it in my EDH deck. I have funnily enough, a Sigarda EDH deck that's Voltron, so it would be pretty good in that, just to kind of chain some equipment together. But hey, it's a fun card. We'll see. And then our foil is Emrakul's Influence. I actually really like this card. As I previously stated, I'm a pretty big EDH player, and this card's screams EDH, especially since it's foil. Whenever you cast an Eldrazi creature spell with converted mana cost 7 or greater, draw 2 cards. Oh yeah. There's a ton of Animar decks that are going to love this card. So I'll set that aside there. Next pack. Alright, Boon of Emrakul. Really sweet art. 3, it's just a good little removal spell here. But more than a removal spell, it's it can kind of jump up like one of your like 4 toughness or greater flyers or evasive creatures just to sneak in for some more damage. So it's a pretty versatile card, as those +3, -3 cards are, or +X, -X. All right. Let's see what else we got. Alchemist Greeting, pretty good removal spell. I seem to be the only one who likes Spectral Reserves. I think it's fine in limited, because 2 power with flying across 2 bodies and gain 2 life. It's pretty good. I liked that Griffin that had a similar effect from Battle for Zendikar. I thought it was really powerful, but the Griffin had 3 toughness, so that's probably a big thing. But this is across 2 bodies, so yeah. Let's see. Lashweed Lurker. Okay, so here's another new mechanic from the set. It's called Emerge, so I'll just read the card. Lashweed Lurker is 8 colorless for a 5/4, and it has an ability called Emerge. You may cast this spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the Emerge cost reduced by that creature's converted mana cost. And the Emerge cost on this card is printed as 5, a blue, and a green, so 7. So if you have a 5-drop, you pay a green and a blue, sacrifice the 5-drop, cast this for 2. pretty powerful. When you cast Lashweed Lurker, you may put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library. So this is a pretty powerful card. Okay, and Spreading Flames. This card's pretty fun. This is one of the cards that made me excited about the pre-release that I didn't get to go to. Just because you tend to be able to cast, the games go slower, especially in Two-Headed Giant. So Spreading Flames deals 6 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. It's an instant for 6 and a red, so 7. And this being an instant is so awesome. I love it, especially so Two-Headed Giant. You know, you let your partner develop your board or their board, and you swing in. You play this during combat and just wreck blocks. It is so awesome. You can get so much value off of this. You know, just you're almost always going to get a 2-for-1 with this card, which already makes it worth it. And then you're able to get a 3-for-1 more often than not. All right, Tree of Perdition. So you've heard of Eldrazi Winter. We'll get ready for Tree Winter. I'm kidding, of course. 3 and a black for a 0/13 with Defender. Tap, exchange target opponent's life total with Tree of Perdition's toughness. Flavor text 2, there will be no absolution. So this is, if I remember right, Tree of Redemption from the original Innistrad had the same effect, except it targeted you, so it was a 0/13. You could exchange your life total with its toughness. You know, this is obviously a little better than that because it interacts with your opponent. There could be some fun shenanigans with this card and Triskaidekaphobia. The problem with that being, though, is Pain lands are still in Standard, and those really allow your opponent to mitigate their life total. So if they're at 13 during your instep, or their own instep, they can just tap it, go down to 12, and make sure that they're not. But yeah, cards like this kind of make that fun. And Extractor of Sin is our flip card. When Extractor of Sin enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another permanent. It's pretty big. If you do, put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield Delirium at the beginning of your upkeep. If there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, transform Extractor of Sin. Flips into Extricator of Flesh. It's an Eldrazi horror. Eldrazi you control have Vigilance. It's pretty good. Pay 2, tap it, sacrifice a non-Eldrazi creature, put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield. So, pretty strong stuff. That is first pickable over a lot of the rares. Like, I would probably... Well, I don't know. I might take Tree of Perdition just for lulz. It's also a pretty good blocker. Alright, next pack. Alright, this is the Liliana art. That doesn't look like Liliana. This is really sweet art. Field Creeper. Looks like Nightmare Before Christmas. Spectral Reserves. Laboratory Brute. Prophetic Ravings. Fortune's Favor. Noose Constrictor. Alright, Permeating Mass is our rare. Whenever Permeating Mass deals combat damage to a creature, that creature becomes a copy of Permeating Mass. And so what that means is every other pack we are going to open from this box will also be a Permeating Mass. This card is just hilarious. I love it. There we got a Flip Wolf, and oh, you know, this is a foil rare. Crypt Breaker, 1 black for a 1/1. Has an activated ability, 1 and a black. Tap, discard a card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Has another activated ability, tap 3 untap zombies you control. You draw a card, and you lose 1 life. I think this card's pretty powerful. More so because it's foil, of course. And one thing I really like about it is its second activated ability doesn't say another, so you really only need 2 other zombies. So I think there's a pretty good zombie deck in Constructed right now that's just waiting to be found. So do pretty good rare 1-drops there in that pack, so that was pretty fun, one of which was foil. Alright, next pack. It of the Horrid Swarm. I think this card's pretty sweet. It's the green common with Emerge. Its Emerge cost is 7, its regular cost is 8. It's a 4/4, and when you cast it, you put out 2 1/1 green insects. It's a pretty strong card. Succumb to Temptation. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. just really awesome card. It's an instant too, which is a pretty big factor here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this card saw play as a 1 or 2 of in some black-based control decks in Constructed. Alright. Faith Unbroken. Alright, and so our rare is Providence. It's 5 and 2 white. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, your life total becomes 26. Your life total, and then the effect is your life total becomes 26. So this card's pretty fun. It's kind of a neat little twist on the ley lines type of ability. The funny thing about this card is myself and a lot of people, I was influenced by people on forums. It's of course not my fault. I thought this was going to be a cycle, so like there would be like a blue one would be like draw a card, but that's just an example. That card would be broken. It would hopefully do something else. It would probably be like you loot, and then I saw anyway. I thought there'd be like 4 others, one in each color. So it's kind of interesting that like this kind of effect is just its own card. I think this card's fine. Yeah, seems bad in EDH. All right, next pack. So I'm still feeling good about this. So far, this box has been pretty sick. It's just with like the first pack you got, just from the Bruna, it was just amazing. Okay. Vexing Scuttler. It's a fun card. Alright, so our rare is Thalia, Heretic Cathar. 2 and a white for a 3/2 with first strike. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. And so a lot of people are specking on this in modern, like, Hate Bear style decks. That's where the other Thalia card found a home. It's obviously pretty powerful. I think this card's pretty powerful. It's always good to punish greedy land bases, and 3-drop for a 3/2 with first strike is already pretty good. It blocks pretty well. Obviously in modern there's the bolt problem, that old song and dance. So let's take a look at what else is in here. So we've got Ulvenwald Captive and a foil Swamp. This card's pretty good. It makes a black mana every turn. I think this could definitely see standard play. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in our foil pile, and then zombie token. Alright. Certain Death, Displace. See, whenever I'm not playing Sealed or Draft, I always open packs that are pretty sweet and limited. That's my luck. Blood Mist, that's awesome name, awesome art. Alright, Mausoleum Wanderer. It's a 1 and a blue for 1/1 flying spirit. Whenever another spirit enters the battlefield under your control, Mausoleum Wanderer gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Sacrifice Mausoleum Wanderer. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays X, where X is Mausoleum Wanderer's power. So, obviously a lot of spirits have flash. We already saw Spell Queller earlier, had flash. There's Rattle Chains, I believe, gives spirits spells you control flash. So there's a lot of tricks you can do here, and even having just being able to like force spike somebody is pretty strong. And then our rare, Voldaren Pariah, 3 and 2 black, flying 3/3, sacrifice 3 other creatures, transform it, and it has madness for 3 black. Abolisher of Bloodlines, flying, when this creature it transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. Pretty fun. Don't know about constructed playability, but I would certainly draft that, especially in a dedicated Madness Vampires deck, because optimally 3 black for 3/3 flying is pretty strong. And then you can activate its transformability and instant speed, so if like 2 or 3 of your guys are going to die anyway, you can just like flip it and blow your opponent out. Alright, next pack. Okay, Murder is making a comeback here. Just, 1, 2 black, destroy target creature. Can't get much simpler than that. Really strong card. Foul Emissary. Foul Emissary is seeing play in Collected Company decks now. It says, when Foul Emissary enters the battlefield, you look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. It's a 1/1. So that's a pretty strong ability, but it has a second triggered ability. When you sacrifice Foul Emissary while casting a spell with a merge, put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield. So adds value to cards like Elder Deep Fiend. So, pretty strong card. Lets you, like, cantrips, so to speak, can be found off company. So, pretty strong card. Oh, all right. Emrakul, the Promised End. Awesome. This box is so sick. So it's 13 for a 13/13. Emrakul, the Promised End, costs 1 colorless less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard. When you cast Emrakul, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. So it also has flying, trample, and protection from instants. So I really like this card. It's obviously not as good and constructed as the new Ulamog, but I still just think this card's pretty sweet. I like it a lot more than some other people, but I won't get too much into that because that's a pretty controversial topic right now, but I am very excited to have pulled that. Getting a lot of Boon of Emrakuls in front. Okay, Ruthless Disposal is a pretty sweet card. Spreading Flames again. Alright, so our rare in this pack is Emrakul's Evangel. It is 2 and a green for a 3/2. Tap, sacrifice Emrakul's Evangel and any number of other non-Eldrazi creatures. Put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield for each creature sacrificed this way. So, pretty sweet card. It's an effect similar to Fresh Meat, so it's kind of like, fresh meat on a stick. And that's a pretty powerful card. So, it's just pretty good. Makes blocking pretty hard for or combat in general pretty hard for your opponent, or removal, because you can just tap in. If they, target one of your guys with something, you can just, tap stack on them and get 2 3/2s as opposed to getting nothing. So that's pretty sweet. Okay, our flip card is Grizzled Angler. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/3. Tap, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then, if there is a colorless creature card in your graveyard, transform it. Turns into a 4/5. With activated ability 6, creatures your opponent's control attack this turn if able. Alright, so I'll put that in the rear pile. Alright, next pack. Okay, Borrowed Grace to start us off. Alright, Clear Shot. This card is sweet. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Just green's getting some really sweet removal in this block. So, you had Savage Bite in the last set, and we have Prey Upon in this set as well as Clear Shot. So this card is just sick. I love it. Oh, Grim Flare is our mythic. It's a black and a green for a 2/2 with trample. Whenever Grim Flare deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order. Delirium, Grim Flare gets +2/+2 as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. So this card is pretty sick. And our flip card is Curious Homunculus. It's 1 and a blue, add a colorless to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell at the beginning of your upkeep. If there are 3 or more instant or sorcery spells in your graveyard, transform Curious Homunculus. Voracious Reader, Prowess. It's a 3/4. Instants and sorcery spells you cost 1 less to cast. So that's a pretty fun card. I would draft it. The instants and sorceries matter limited archetype is pretty sweet this time around. Alright, Murder, Foul Emissary. Alright. So Lupine Prototype. It's 2 colorless for a 5/5 Lupine prototype. Can't attack or block unless a player has no cards in hand. So I love this card. I think it's so sweet. Not even mechanically, but just because it's a robot in a mech suit. And that is all I have to say about this card. This amazing piece of cardboard that we have the privilege of witnessing. Okay. So checking restraints is kind of some premium white removal here. Thermal Alchemist is kind of the linchpin of the Instants and Sorceries Matter deck that's in this limited. Alright, so our rare is Eternal Scourge. You may cast Eternal Scourge from exile. It's 3 colors for a 3/3. When Eternal Scourge becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, exile Eternal Scourge. So, pretty strong card. Might see Eternal play in the Food Chain Legacy decks. I know very little about that deck. I have talked to a player though, and he says that the Griffin is still better. I assume just because it has flying, things like that. But I mean, this could be that Griffin numbers, 5 and 6. But so the ability is relevant enough to the ability itself is pretty strong. So. We'll see about the card. And the flip card is Smoldering Werewolf. Okay. So Galvanic Bombardment. Galvanic Bombardment is a 1-drop instant for a red. Galvanic Bombardment deals X damage to target creature, where X is 2 plus the number of cards named Galvanic Bombardment in your graveyard. So a pretty strong card. Pretty strong card. Wretched Griff, one of my more favorite Emerge cards. I would love to play that in Limited. I'm going to draft those pretty highly. Just because I like that kind of effect. I think it's pretty fun. Alright, this is sweet. Elder Deep Fiend is our rare. It is an 8-drop with flash. It's 5/6. Emerge 5 and 2 blue, so 7. When you cast Elder Deep Fiend, tap up to 4 target permanents. Really powerful card. You can really just mess up your opponent's turn, like flash that in during their upkeep on critical turn. A lot of standard right now is at instant speed with things like Spirits and Collected Company, so it isn't quite so good against those decks because they can just respond to it, but it's still really powerful. I'm a big fan of this card, and you sacrifice things like Vile Emissary to it and get extra value, or there's just a lot you can do with this card. It's really sweet. On stream, I didn't hear any specifics, but Cedric Phillips was saying he wouldn't be surprised if it saw some Eternal play, so we'll see about that. Alright, so take inventory a lot like Galvanic Bombardment. 1 and a blue for a sorcery, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named, take inventory in your graveyard. And a lot of people said, why isn't this an instant? And the answer to that is because that would be broken. That would just be amazing in standard, I think. I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong. I've been wrong in the past, and I'll be wrong in the future, but that just seems really strong to me. But I don't know. Alright, Thermal Alchemist again. Crop Sigil. Advanced Stitchwing. This isn't just a regular Stitchwing. This is Advanced Stitchwing. Alright, and our rare is Niblis of Frost. It's 2 and 2 blue for a spirit. It's a 3/3 with flying and prowess. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So, again, really good in the instant sorceries matter deck. I don't think this is in that spirits deck, but I think this is like just borderline constructed playable. I think it's pretty strong. I definitely draft it pretty highly. And our flip card is Kessig Prowler. I love the art on this card. Love it. The zombie token. All right. Another take inventory. This would be a pretty fun box sealed. All right, Bedlam Reveler. So this is, I think this card's pretty powerful. So it's 6 and 2 red for a 3/4. Bedlam Reveler costs 1 less to cast for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. It has prowess. When Bedlam Reveler enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. So a lot of people are saying that this is going to be pretty strong in decks like Delver decks, things like that. Those are some things I've heard. The reason being, you know, it's kind of similar to why they play Tasigur and Gurmag Angler. It's just something you can play for pretty cheap. And the main argument against playing those cards that I've heard is, you know, you can play multiple Bedlam Reveler and still have the same amount of cost reduction, whereas by the nature of Delve, you can't really cast Delve spells consecutively that easily. Or at least not as easily as you could with Bedlam Reveler. So, and then being able to draw 3 and then having a 3/4 is pretty good. So time will tell on that card, but I am pretty happy to open it here. Another Galvanic Bombardment. Box sealed, looking good. Wretched Griff. Okay, so people have been talking about this card as a sideboard in Modern against, you know, discard effects. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard a card, you may reveal that card and put it on top of your library instead of putting it anywhere else. And it taps for a colorless. So, pretty fun effect. We'll see about it in Constructed. I'm not sure myself. Another clear shot. Our rare is Gyre Reach Sanatorium. Taps for colorless, and you can pay 2. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. So, pretty sweet card, in my opinion. You know, obviously it's a problem if your opponent is, you know, or since your opponent is also getting the loot. But if you're in a deck, you know, similar to Jund or another similar deck that's trying to get your opponent with no cards in hand, get them hellbent, then the loot obviously does nothing. So it only gives you value. It's just a really powerful effect if you can find a way to make it asymmetrical in your favor. I have a Tron friend who was saying that, you know, it could be a good replacement in, you know, Tron replacement for Eye of Ugin, just to help you find your late game threats. So we'll see about that. And then we have 2 flip cards, Ulvenwald Captive and Hanwar Garrison. It's another meld card. Otherwise, though, it's 2 and a red for a 2/3. Whenever Hanwar Garrison attacks, put 2 1/1 red human creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. This card is pretty nuts. I like that card a lot. Alright, so those go in the rare piles. That's one thing I kind of like about how they're balancing the meld cards in the limited. They're just making them like pretty good by themselves. So. Alright. So Guardian Priest, really good and limited. Blessed Alliance, it's being played as like a one-of in some control decks, like that Black-White Angels decks. I think plays 1 or 2 copies. Alright. Holy, wow, this is a really good box. Okay. Liliana, The Last Hope. 1 and 2 black. For a Planeswalker, starts with 3 loyalty, +1, up to 1 target creature gets -2, -1 until your next turn. -2, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your instep, put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is 2 plus the number of zombies you control. Really happy to pull that. I think we've gotten most of the Chase Mythics in this set. Yeah, like that and Tree of Perdition. I mean, what else could you want? I mean, Might as well throw the rest of this box away. Looks like a Ravnica card. Give me pause. Alright, and so our rare here is Distended Mindbender. It's an 8-drop for a 5/5, emerge 5 and 2 black. When you cast Distended Mindbender, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose from it a non-land card with converted mana cost 3 or less, and a card with converted mana cost 4 or greater. That player discards those cards. So, in my opinion, card's pretty awesome. Like, it's, yeah, just pretty fun. I'd love to play it in limited. Might see constructed play. I think the emerge mechanic is, I think it can be broken. I mean, even like sacking a 2-drop or something to make this guy cost 5, I think is pretty strong. Like, you know, this, imagine like a 5-drop for a 5/5 with this ability. So, in my opinion, I think the emerge mechanic's pretty strong. In my opinion, I think that doesn't make sense. Of course you do. Okay, so Ride Down is our foil. It's a pretty sweet card. Kind of like the old art better. Everybody's a critic. Next pack. Okay, another Guardian Priest. And our rare is Stromkirk Condemned. Discard a card. Vampires you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So in Reed Duke's constructed set review for the set, he said that this could be the card that makes constructed vampires a thing, and I can see why. This card seems pretty powerful. So we will see about that later on and see if that can power through the Spirit and the Coco decks right now. Basically, if it can power through the white base decks. Might be a thing after rotation, but we will see. Alright, our rare is Collective Brutality. It's the black Escalate card. It's 1 and a black for a sorcery, and the Escalate cost is to discard a card. Choose 1 or more. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You may choose an instant or sorcery card from it. That player discards a card. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. So, you know, pretty strong card, especially in a set with Madness. There's strong, like, in limited, there's like commons and uncommons that I'd probably take over it, but otherwise, I like it a lot. Okay, so here's a card that it excited me a lot in this set. It's Unsubstantiate. First of all, fun name. 1 and a blue for an instant. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. So, you know, cards that, you know, jump out to mind. Remand. It's just Remand that drops the cantripping, which is very important, obviously, but it loses that, but gains the ability to bounce one of your opponent's creatures or one of your own creatures. So we'll see how good this is. I don't think it's nearly as good as Remand, but time will tell. And our rare, I love this card, Soul Separator. It's a 3-drop artifact with an activated ability 5. Sacrifice Soul Separator, exile target creature card from your graveyard. Put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that card, except it's a 1/1. It's a spirit in addition to its other types, and it has flying. You also put a black zombie creature token onto the battlefield with the power equal to that card's power and toughness equal to that card's toughness. So, really fun flavor on that card. I like it a lot. You know, not too like good, but you know, it could be fun in like EDH, or even I could see this being like okay in like a sealed deck if you're wanting to have fun. Really fun cube card as well. You know, just really fun card all around. Really good design. I like this kind of card a lot. All right, and we got the other side of Hanwar Garrison. which is a land. So you play it. It's you tap for a colorless. You can pay a red. Target creature gains haste until end of turn, and you can pay 3 and 2 red if you own and control Hanwar Battlements and a creature named Hanwar Garrison. Exile them, then meld them into Hanwar, the Writhing Township. And so that is this monster of a card. I'll just go ahead and show it to you. Here's another meld card. Pretty cool that we got them both. So I think if we get Bruna, this will be one of the better boxes I've ever opened. So it's a 7/4 with Trample and Haste. And whenever Hanwar, the Writhing Township, attacks, you put 3 colorless Eldrazi horror creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. So, pretty fun card. This was the first. It's funny. This was the first meld card we actually saw, but we didn't know it was a meld card. We just thought it was a flip card. So, a lot of people thought it was a land. On the other side, a lot of people thought it was a creature. Turns out they were both right. So that's fun. All right, next pack. Mockery of Nature. Love this. Love that name. It's like It of the Horrid Swarm in that, and then It that rides as one. Love those names. All right, Bloodhall Priest, 2, a black and a red. This is our rare. It's a 4/4. Whenever Bloodhall Priest enters the battlefield or attacks, so similar triggered ability as Titans. If you have no cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player, and it has Madness for 1, a black and a red. So a pretty strong card. And some more Midnight Scavengers. Nice try, Gravity. Trying to make these cards fall. Alright, Galvanic Bombardment making our box sealed even better. So now we have 3. Lookout World. Yeah, red is actually pretty strong. Okay, our rare is Noosegraph Mob. Noosegraph Mob is a 6-drop, 4 and 2 black. Noosegraph Mob enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever a player casts a spell, remove a +1/+1 counter from Noosegraph Mob. If you do, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield, and its base power and toughness are 0, so it comes in as a 5/5. So this card's pretty strong. Really good and limited. You know, if there's a constructed zombie deck in Standard right now, it probably doesn't want that, but who knows? Not I, said the fly. Not I. Another Galvanic Bombardment, so now we got a play set in this super awesome sealed deck. Hopefully we get a Battle of Wits 2 randomly, even though that's not in the set. Alright, Oath of Liliana is our rare this pack. When Oath of Liliana enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. It's an enchantment for a 2 and a black. At the beginning of each end step, if a planeswalker enters the battlefield under your control this turn, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So similar to the other oaths, the planeswalker ability is less relevant, but the enter the battlefield ability is pretty good. This is an edict. Yeah, I think this one's pretty good. Probably not as good as, you know, Oath of Nissa, but who knows? I think it's, you know, it's an edict, and if you're running a lot of planeswalkers, like, you know, there's a lot of constructed playable planeswalkers right now in Standard in that color. So we'll see. Being able to put out a token to block the planeswalker is pretty strong. All right. All right, Collective Defiance. Love this card. 1 and 2 red. Escalate 1 colorless. Choose 1 or more. Target player discards all the cards in his or her hand, then draws that many cards. Collective Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature. Collective Defiance deals 3 damage to target opponent. It's a sorcery. Yeah, it's a pretty good value red spell. You know, if you're able to play this for 6, that is just sick. I love this card. Yeah, and you can get pretty tricky with the first ability because it's target opponent. So if, like, you know, your opponent's playing like a Dark Petition deck and they have to like tap out for it for one reason or another, you can just make them discard it and draw another card. So, you know, tricksy stuff like that. Tricksy Hobbits. Alright. Getting a lot of Zambi tokens. Okay. Hopefully we get that Bruna so we can live the dream. Okay, our rare is another Mausoleum Wanderer, and our flip card is a Midnight Scavenger. So we can just skip that then. Alright, Prey Upon is our first card here. It's a pretty strong pack for limited. Eldritch Evolution. This is possibly my favorite card from this set. Time will tell if it's good. 1 and 2 green for sorcery. As an additional cast to cost Eldritch Evolution, sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a creature card with a converted mana cost X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, and then you exile Eldritch Evolution. The exile ability is very important because imagine sacrificing, you know, like a mana dork in Modern for Eternal Witness, getting this back, then getting a 5-drop. It's just, that'd be pretty sweet. So this is kind of like if Court of Calling and Birthing Pod had a baby, a weird Eldrazi baby. I think this card's pretty strong. I'm going to play around with it in Modern, so my dream is to just sacrifice Solemn Simulacrums to get Primeval Titans, only to have Eldritch Evolution sacrificed and leave me with an empty board. But, you know, still pretty in a vacuum, pretty strong effect. So, we'll see. It's kind of like, I know, I kind of like the flavor there. It's, that spell's effect is pretty similar to just the Emerge ability. Fun stuff. Good job, Wizards. Alright, Stromkirk Occultist. 2 and a red for a 3/2 with trample. Whenever Stromkirk Occultist deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. And it's got a madness cost, 1 and a red. Oh, this box is sweet. Okay, so it's foil Emrakul, the Promised End. Okay. This is a sweet box. That pushed it up. This is the best box I've ever opened, probably. Granted, I've had poor luck in the past, and I didn't open any boxes in the Battle for Zendikar block. So I never opened any expeditions, but this box has been just sweet. Yeah. Oh, wow. Woo! Okay, another Crypt Breaker. That's our rare. Like that card, like I said. Flip card is Extricator Demon, and we got a foil Lone Rider. Alright, only 3 packs left after this one. Alright, and here's another Mythic. That's pretty cool. 2, it's called Gissa and Geralf. It's one of those weird cards that represents 2 people. 2 blue and a black for a 4/4. When Gissa and Geralf enter the battlefield, I don't know if it's Geralf or Giralf, but someone's going to be angry about that in the comments. Enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. During each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard. Pretty strong. You know, this would be a pretty good, maybe top end for a constructed zombie deck. Yeah, I like this card a lot. And then our flip card is Vilden Pack Outcast. Okay. Just wanted to hide my shame there. Sorry for the transitions. Okay. Alright, our rare is Selfless Spirit. 1 and a white for a 2/1. With flying, sacrifice Selfless Spirit. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So, yeah. Pretty strong Spirit card. Spirit's got a lot of love this set. And we have 2 flip cards, Voldaren Pariah, which we've seen before, and Smoldering Werewolf. So, 2 rare packs. Always happy to see those. Okay. Okay, Identity Thief, 2 and 2 blue for 0/3. Whenever an Identity Thief attacks, you may exile target non-token creature. If you do, Identity Thief becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. Return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this card's pretty versatile and limited. You know, you can recur ETB abilities on your own creatures. Hey, one sec. Yep, yeah, you can recur your own. You can get rid of one of your opponent's best blockers. You know, take their best creature and get rid of their copy for a turn. So a pretty fun card. Flip cards, Graph Rats, and foil is Falcon Wrath Reaver, which is just a bear. Alright, so last pack. Let's see what it is. Is it the Bruna we've been wanting? Alright, no, but it is a Sanctifier of Souls, which is 3 and a white for a 2/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Sanctifier of Soul gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It is an activated ability for 2 and a white. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Pretty strong card and limited. Alright, so that wraps up this box. I am, as you've seen, really happy with this box. I think it's really sick. You know, we got basically all the Chase Mythics. We got Gisela, 2 Emrakuls, one of which was foil, and a Liliana, and that's just awesome. So be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube page, and thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stop by D20 Hobbies in Lexington, Kentucky for all your hobby needs.